Namaskar and a very, very good morning to all of you. At the outset, I would like to extend a very warm welcome to Dr. Shashi Paja, Honorable Minister, Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare, Government of West Bengal, to today's virtual gathering. Madam, we feel extremely privileged to have you with us today. I sincerely welcome Dr. Viva Dhawan, Director General TERI, to this August forum. It's an honor to have you with us, ma'am. I believe today's deliberations will culminate into a fruitful action plan and lead to outcomes where social sector organizations will highlight their development projects in which corporates can use the CSR budget to fulfill their respective societal obligations. As we are aware, in 2014, India had become the first country to legally mandate CSR, and since then, numerous efforts have been undertaken to boost CSR activities and expenditure in the country towards social welfare projects. Particularly, I feel in the wake of global pandemic and its effect in India in such a large scale, a number of changes in the corporate social responsibility policy has been undertaken that change the way companies now view social obligations. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has introduced provisions so that a number of expenditures incurred by the companies could be brought in under the CSR expenditure, particularly announcements that companies could use CSR funds for creating health infrastructure for COVID-19 care, establishment of medical oxygen and storage plants, manufacturing and supply of oxygen concentrators, ventilators, cylinders, and other medical equipments for countering COVID-19, or to set up makeshift hospitals and temporary COVID care facilities, or the fact that funds spent on awareness campaigns and public outreach programs to promote vaccination will come under the purview of CSR are viewed to be greatly encouraging to social development. Interestingly, CSR spending of companies in the last 2 years has also increased significantly. With this background, ICC is organizing the CSR Connect to facilitate social sector organizations to showcase their projects and connect them with corporates who may be interested to support them under their CSR activities. One of the prominent chambers in India, the Indian Chamber of Commerce, has undertaken a number of initiatives earlier in the CSR space, including we held the Social Impact Awards to recognize companies that are doing outstanding work in social development. This time, we are happy to partner with TERI and Consultivo to bring out the ICC CSR Connect, keeping in mind the ongoing amendments in the CSR space. With these few words, I once again welcome you all to this inaugural program and would now request Dr. Viva Dhawan, Director General TERI, to kindly address us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nayantra, for your very kind words. And I'm so happy to see the minister. And I suppose I was just sharing with her that this appears to be a woman-centric webinar, one of the few ones in the male-dominated society. But I suppose I always say we can do multitasking much better, and it's good to see women leading the country and various initiatives. So I'm really happy to be here, and really speaking, if we look at corporate social responsibility, that is backbone. Like we always talk of that society should be more equitable, and the the change in the mindset of industrial leaders, which is gradually coming, is encouraging to see, because now it is give back something to the society. And we have also realized that it is one planet and we all have to work together. And if, like, this pandemic has also shown us that disease is not going to see whether someone is rich or someone is poor, it's going to have impact on all. And in this particular case, perhaps, and that is good in a way, that those who are economically at disadvantageous position, they had better immunity. So that is how India, in a way, could be saved. Now, coming to the UN Sustainable Development Goals, or we commonly call SDGs, they're adopted by all United Nations member states in 2015, and that provided a shared blueprint for peace and prosperity for people and the people now and into the future. These goals are a call for urgent actions by all countries in a global partnership. And this partnership includes not just government, but also civil society, scientific community, academics, and business houses. With the role of states, academia, and civil society as important partners in achieving the SDGs is widely acknowledged, the important contribution by business houses in promoting sustainable development and tackling social, economic, and environmental challenges also deserves recognition. Through their various CSR activities, both government and private sector have mobilized large resources to help address the social issues related to human development. The World Business Council for Sustainable Development, in its publication, Making Good Business Sense, by Lord Home and Richard Watts, describes CSR as the commitment by business to behave ethically and contribute to economic development while improving the quality of life of the workforce and their families, as well as of the local community and society at large. The analysis of CSR understanding from various authors in different phases has highlighted the change and shift in its concept. Initially focused on basic activities, CSR has now shifted to corporate social performance, corporate social citizenship, and corporate sustainability to benefit multiple stakeholders. Therefore, corporate sustainability can be regarded as the corporate response to sustainable development, represented by strategies and practices that address the key issues in achieving the same. The legal framework of CSR outside India began to develop during 1900s. However, in India, it started with the Department of Public Enterprises Guidelines 2009, National Voluntary Guidelines 2011, Security and Exchange Board of India 2012, and was finally completed with the passage of Companies Act 2013 and its execution in 2014-2015, the same time in the year 2015 as formulation of the SDGs. However, over here, I would like to mention that, not to say that CSR started only after these years. If we look back to some of our old corporates, and I like to name Tata's, they started CSR much before the others started talking about this subject. And I like to say, maybe you can say that TERI is outcome of CSR, because it was Tata Group of companies, Tata Chemicals, that decided that there should be an institute working on energy. So that's how we came into force. So that's what, if we look at Indian Institute of Science and many other premium institutes that were started by them. So it is CSR in the true sense. It started much before SDGs, much before the national guidelines and so on. And I think that also in a way built the character of the organizations. Once they start thinking about the society, the character of the organization, corporate house, that also improves. The CSR trend shows that the expenditure on Schedule 7 activities has increased since its inception. The cumulative expenditure activities for 6 years, that is 2014-15 till 2021, is about 100,000 crores. At the compliance front on CSR, it's heartening to see that the companies are progressing well, which is a good indicator for social sector growth. CSR and SDGs together have tremendous potential to develop as an interconnected model for sustainable growth. And I must say, like, sustainability is not just a buzzword. The human civilization, human survival only depends if we are able to sustain this planet. So whether it is in terms of climate change, whether it is in terms of the consumeristic society, we cannot unless and until the path we follow is sustainable. This also suggests that CSR is evolving in nature, and hence various developments and priority areas are being added from time to time through amendments. The recent amendments in CSR last year will strengthen the provision of the CSR. In addition, these amendments lay special focus on COVID-19 related areas and provide relief to masses. Thus, it has opened new avenues by covering more companies and therefore providing more budget and space for innovation leading to social development. We at TERI, we are extremely happy to partner with Indian Chamber of Commerce as a knowledge partner in this CSR summit. Founded in 1925, Indian Chamber of Commerce is leading and only national chamber of commerce operating from Calcutta and one of the most proactive and forward-looking chambers in the country today. So my congratulations to all those who are associated with ICC. As the knowledge partner of this summit, TERI will provide necessary technical input for achieving the goal of the events. TERI's dedicated group on CSR has come up with an overall strategy to develop capacities for CSR and sustainability programs. This will help in exploring various channels of collaborations with all stakeholders, including the private sector, public sector, philanthropic organizations, civil societies, and academia. TERI, in association with ICC, has come up with the knowledge report, the concept paper on evolution and rating of NGOs, which I hope will be useful for all stakeholders. This knowledge report is an important document of the key expertise and lessons in the CSR sector during the pandemic. An important lesson this pandemic has taught us that all stakeholders need to come together to fight the inequalities and fix the fault line of the society. In this regard, CSR interventions have served as appropriate models of providing aid to the most vulnerable sections and communities. I wish success to ICC and all partnering stakeholders for this event. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Dhawan, for giving us an overview on CSR and highlighting the new amendments and also the SDGs. And thank you once again for partnering with ICC. May I now request Shoma to release the knowledge document. Unfortunately, we have to do it virtually, and we can send a hard copy to Honorable Minister. Shoma?
So yeah, Dr. Dhawan is already doing it
Yes.
physically. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
So this is a virtual release. This will be put up in our website as well as our platform. and it will be accessible to all partners and participants. And we will also share copies, links with Honorable Minister and all other
Yes.
stakeholders.
Yes. Thank you. With this, may I now request our chief guest, Dr. Shashi Paja, Honorable Minister, Department of Women and Child Development and Social Welfare, Government of West Bengal, who has so much experience in the social sector, to kindly share her thoughts with us. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for this invitation, first of all. And I would say that I share a very fruitful relationship with the ICC, and they never forget me. They have never given up on me either. So they're very determined that I should be one of the attendees or the participants in whatever new that they have thought of. So this time, the ICC CSR Summit is showcasing the activities during this difficult time, and it's a pleasure for me always to catch up with Nayantara Pal Chaudhary, who's the chairperson of ICC Women Empowerment and Development Committee. It's such an important job that you're doing. It's such an important work that you're doing. It's so challenging and it's extremely exciting. And it actually, you have also so many years of experience, so many years of, as a woman who broke the glass ceiling. We are very proud of you, basically. We are very proud of you. So it's very nice that you are the chairperson of this very important committee. And it's so nice I think I heard Dr. Vibha Dhawan for the first time. I'm sorry for that. Director General, the Energy and Resources Institute, in short, TERI. So I understand this document also, the two co-authors are from TERI, as much as I could read, Dr. Amit Thakur and I think Dr. Apurva. So they must have given some very valuable observations, etc., in this particular document, and I hope to acquire a copy of it. Thank you to Shushmita Mukherjee, who has brought the entire act together, and all members of ICC. Now, I was hearing you. Yes, I may not be very technical because I do not belong to a corporate world, and I understand about the CSR that you were mentioning. I will complete my knowledge about the CSR amendments made last year. But yes, you have mentioned the salient features of it. And we all know the history of the Companies Act, etc. And that CSR itself is such a very important, I would say, something to deliver to the society. And I don't have an account as to all over India how many companies are there who are doing this CSR job. And since it is now mandatory, also how much crores, Vibhaji did mention 100,000 crores up to 2021, whether this is the entire figure or not. All said and done, qualitatively, what I would like to address is, yes, we are happy about the fact that be it the legislation or be it the mindset, as you said, even before the legislation, Tata was there. So there have been people who have done path-breaking work. Having said that, I am handling social welfare department, child development, also women development. And there are so many avenues where CSR should reach out to us. Now, your discussion, is it for 7 days, if I'm not mistaken, or is it just for today? You will be connecting between the corporates and the social sector or the NGOs who are there. And it's the NGOs with whom we interact. Now, there are difficult times, I understand, because there were lots of very well-known NGOs. I don't know where their status is now, because the current government, I don't think, is very NGO friendly. for which we have lost out on some NGOs doing very good work. Either they have left the country, or even for that matter, left the state. So I understand there is a prevailing, some kind of I would say, a pressure for which we have actually lost out on some NGOs who were working with us. Now, I'm not getting into that political difficulties, but what I'm saying is that it has had an impact. There has been an impact, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or my understanding is wrong. That we had a CSR in place, we had the Companies Act, we've had the amendments also. But at the same time, we understand there is also a PM Cares Fund. And we understand that many companies are redirecting their CSR to that kind of funding, to that funding, which again doesn't belong to the government because it has trustees in their body. But it has the Prime Minister and few ministers of important departments like health or finance or maybe industry as members. So it is a private fund, which is again not under audit, but there are directions, and we see a movement of CSR money towards that fund. So, and then it is redirected from you. So as you have seen in the COVID in the past, that in the last year COVID, we have seen ventilators and etc. being distributed or bought from that fund, etc. And there are questions about it. Now, it is unfortunate. You are there in the corporate sectors, and those who are handling corporate funding, CSR. I don't know how you take a call in this matter. I wish it was more free and you could have an independence in deciding how and whom you wish to help out with. Now, having said that, again, during COVID times, people like us have also ventured out and, I've started a safe home. And when I started the safe home, ICC helped me. ICC helped me because a safe home will have patients, absolutely the first, those who are not severe with their COVID symptoms, but must be away from their home, etc., and all those medical indications are there. So safe home came up in West Bengal first, the idea of a safe home. And it really gradually, there was proliferation of the numbers. And in fact, in my constituency, when I opened up a safe home, ICC helped me. NGO like Save the Children helped me with the oxygen concentrators. So this work has happened, but bindings I could feel were there. I have social welfare homes. I have so many children to look after where we are the custodians, and there is a huge, I would say, arena where you could work. And it's just open because we don't ask for cash. You can offer any kind of educational support, any kind of social support. We don't need furniture. There's enough in our homes. We don't need all that. We can do that. What we need is that qualitative. We need that empowerment thing. We have under 18 girls. Not everybody is going to be brilliant in their studies, how much ever you try to educationally support them. But skills, self-entrepreneurship, very small entrepreneurship or very small knowledge about it. These are things that we frantically look for, because that kind of training, there is a technical education department which is developing very well, Utkarsh Bangla, and it's coming up very well with so many schemes, but we are not able to accommodate everybody. So there's a huge domain, flower making, bouquet making, huge thing, block printing, spice grinding, anything under the zari craft, anything which is very inherent and very, I would say, in demand in Bengal can be, sanitary napkins. Who can afford a sanitary napkin which has a proper label like stay free, carefree, or whatever? These are very expensive, but our girls need it. So why can't they make it? But healthy, napkins so that you don't end up with a pelvic infection. So things like that. And there are huge areas of work that you can do. I can tell you, I can share with you that what we are doing presently is we are actually identifying the COVID orphans. What is it? What we are trying to do is we are profiling all the COVID deaths which took place in West Bengal. And we are looking at those families which have underage children. You see, a person may have died of COVID, he was 18. So we know for sure that his children are not below 18. So we are looking at all the families where there has been a single death or two deaths. And we are getting data. And we will be getting data. And we are, basically we're collecting the data because we just want to see and look after them. So we are going to look after their educational needs and other economic needs of maybe the mother is there only, alone. She doesn't know what to do. She's lost her husband, etc. So once I get data, I will look into there are things like they need to be counseled. There are things like that they have to be their schools are closed, but they can never access online classes. I mean, it's just a dream for them. So things that we can think of them. Why I'm looking at COVID is because obviously with the rest of the families that you compare with, I mean, they are more distressed and more disadvantaged because we know where they have lost two parents, or we know also of people who have maybe the father has died much before or is there to let the family. So the mother is alone, the mother doesn't know what to do, things like that. We can take the children in our homes, but the child's best family is our own family. So, that kind of biological separation is again not correct. So keep the child with the mother, the single parent, or maybe there's nobody with the rest of the family, and still look after them. So this is one big thing which we will, I think we'll get a lot of data and information regarding their needs. So as I said, there's so many things that, you can spend. So as I said, sectoral expenditure is again very important. CSR is being spent, but what are you spending on? If I see, as I said, I don't want cupboards, I don't want lights, I don't want fans. We see a lot of CSR banks telling us, "Acha, hum log itna pankha kharid lenge aapke liye. We can offer you that many beds." We don't want that. So somehow I feel the expenditure is kind of directed in one direction. So a major chunk goes off in such things. And there's very less left for very soft things, but which are very important, which changes the quality of life. So I think when you deliberate today and whenever you continue this discussion, there are avenues, and this is what I basically wanted to highlight. Forgive me about the mention about the PM Cares Fund, but I thought that I needed to flag that issue. And I hope and believe that the corporates will continue to work and fund our existing NGOs. We want to stop this menace of trafficking. So let's work along the borders. You don't have to be the police, but let's work to rescue the girls or prevent those girls who actually, in lure of money or jobs, actually go away into the hands of the traffickers. So there are areas where we can work, and it's very interesting. So I think I'm thanking ICC for this wonderful platform where I could actually mention my concerns. And thank you so much again for this invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Minister. You continue to inspire us. And I do hope the NGOs present here in this event today will benefit from their interaction with the corporates. In fact, you have shared a lot of project ideas with us, and Indian Chamber will engage with your department so that we can partner together. With this, may I now request Shoma Mukherjee, who has put this whole CSR Connect event together, to propose the formal vote of thanks and, of course, take us through a virtual tour of the exposition.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Honorable Minister, Dr. Shashi Panja, Dr. Biva Dhawan, Director General TEDI, all the participants, our respected speakers for the sessions, for the next session. Some of them are already here. Thank you very much for being here with us, for sparing your time. We are extremely grateful and thankful to Dr. Panja, Honorable Minister, for sparing her time. She has really taken us through a lot of areas in which we can focus on. She has also mentioned about the safe home and areas in which CSR activities can be directed. So thank you, ma'am, for showing the path. Dr. Dhawan, and I would also like to thank the entire team from TERI, Dr. Amit Thakur and his team for supporting us in this important initiative as a knowledge partner. The knowledge report has been prepared by them, and we also have a series of activities lined up during the next 7 days with TERI. So, and we look forward to a long-standing relationship also. We would like to thank our resource partner, Consultivo, Mr. Saikat Basu and his team for helping us out with this initiative, and also our sponsors, Oil India Limited and session partner, Center for Catalyzing Change, for partnering this initiative. So many thanks, and we would like to now move on to the, without much ado, we'll move on to the virtual tour. May I request Sumit from MindEdge to please take us through the tour, virtual tour of the exposition.
Thank you, Soma ma'am. Good morning to all panelists and attendees. I will just share the screen and I will take you through the entire platform. Hope the screen is visible to everyone.
Yes,
So,
it's visible. Yeah.
So till date, we have more than 200 plus corporate registered on this platform, and those who have registered, they will get a link to this welcoming homepage, wherein they will come to this page and they will just enter their registered email ID to enter the platform. The platform will take them to the lobby section of the CSR Connect, wherein they can see multiple gateways to the exhibition. There is a CSR Connect exhibition hall. There is an auditorium. There is an infodex section also. And we have also provided all the brandings of the partners who have gracefully tied up with the ICC to do this CSR Connect activity. And there is also a video which is being played at the lobby section, which explains the users what exactly is this exhibition is all about and how to connect with the organizations and ask them for the funding of their CSR activities. So as a visitor, the corporates can go to the exhibition hall. Therein all the NGOs and participants who are exhibiting their projects are listed over there. So this is how they can browse through all the NGOs who are participating in the CSR Expo. So just clicking on the previous and next button, they can browse through all the stalls. We have given various stall designs to all the exhibition participants. So as soon as I click on any of the stall, I will be taken to the main page, stall page of the exhibition hall. So this is the Center for Catalyzing Change. This is a stall for them, wherein they can we have displayed the corporate video of that NGO. There is posters also on their stalls. They have showcased their projects. So as a corporate, I can click on the project section to view all the projects they are working on. I can view any of the, click on the image of the stall project and see the description of that project, what they are exactly into this. And if I am a corporate and I am interested in that project, I can just click on I am interested, and immediately a notification will go to that NGO that this corporate is interested in your this project. So very easy to navigate platform wherein you can view all the various projects or initiatives taken by the NGOs. We have given multiple connect facilities also on the stall page, wherein as a corporate I can start or initiate a video call with the representative of the NGO by clicking on the video link. I can also click on the WhatsApp and directly start chatting with the representative of the NGO. I can initiate a simple chat also on this platform, or I can send directly an inquiry about my requirement to the NGOs also, that I want to do this kind of activities. Will you be interested in connecting with us? So this kind of features are available for all the exhibitors and visitors who are visiting this platform. We have also given the catalog section wherein the participants or visitors or corporates can download the catalogs of the NGOs and understand better what kind of projects they are doing. They can click on the About Us section to understand the organization details, and also the representatives details are mentioned over there, like their mobile number, email ID, website. On clicking on the next button, I can go directly to the next stall, and similar activities I can see. I can connect with the representative of that NGO. All these things can be done through a mobile device also. This is a very mobile friendly platform. If the visitors are coming from mobile device, they can directly do all these activities through their mobile devices also. Easy to connect, easy to browse, and easy to download stuffs. We also have an infodex section wherein the organizations who are visiting this platform can search various NGOs who are participating in this exhibition. They can view all the information about this exhibition. They can directly download the exhibitor list also, the list of NGOs they can download. As soon as any organization visits the NGO's stall, NGOs will get a notification on their admin panel that this organization has visited their stall. So all this dynamic and live notification will be available for all the NGOs. So these are the participating NGOs in this CSR Connect. And from here also I can just click on the stall name and I can directly go to the NGO's stall page. And this is the auditorium section. Post the inauguration session, whosoever have missed this inauguration session can see the entire inauguration program at this auditorium section. And again, they can go to the lobby and check all the information regarding the exhibition. Suma madam, back to you. In case you have any queries,
Yeah,
you can
thank you.
get in touch.
No, I think thank you. It's been an exhaustive tour of the entire platform. So thank you very much. I'm sure it's clear to all of us now. So, Madam, back to you.
Yes, with this, we come to the end of the inaugural session. Now we go on to the next session on collaborative approach, funding mechanism, and capacity building. All our panelists are here with us. Over to Mr. Shoikat Basu, CEO and Chief Mentor Consultivo, who will be our moderator for this session. Over to you, Mr. Basu.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. And very good morning. And very good morning to all the dignitaries and the delegates and my co-panel members. And on behalf of ICC, I welcome to the technical session on collaborative approach, funding mechanism, and capacity building. The session will speak on the following technical aspects relating to the synchronization and developing terms for social cause. We have the main topics: developing an assessment of operational efficiency, collaborating for generating fund and capacity improvement, that's very critical, and ESG aspects, environmental, social, and governance aspects, and improving corporate social credit score. In fact, corporate social score possibly will be more aptly defined. Because corporate social credit, when it talks more about China and their economy and their process. So today we are having with us our esteemed panelists. Let me introduce them to you first. We have Mr. Ashwini Saxena, CEO, JSW Foundation. Mr. Saxena, could he join this time? Possibly.
He has not joined till now. I'll just check with him. Maybe
No problem.
he'll be joining.
No problem. So he is one of the very renowned person in this field, a long-term practitioner and a person with a lot of wisdom. Mr. Anurag Pratap, Director CSR Capgemini. Mr. Pratap had some preoccupations, but I think he has joined. Mr. Pratap, you could join.
Yes, join, and I'll be there for another half an hour till 12 o'clock.
Okay, so we'll take your views quickly. We'll take your views quickly. Thank you so much for joining us. Even I know that you have a lot of challenges there, but thank you so much, sir. And we have Mr. Sarvashish Roy, Head CSR Bandhan Bank. Mr. Roy, are you there, sir? Okay, Mr. Roy, I can see.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, good morning, Mr. Roy. Thank you so much for joining us. We will be keen to listen to you, your views. Then we have Mr. Prabhakaran Nair Sushila Manoj, Mr. Manoj, DGM Kolkata SIDB. Mr. Manoj, could he join? I think he's yet to join.
Good morning, I'm here. Good morning, all of you.
Oh.
I'm here.
Okay, good morning, Manoj. Mr. Manoj, thank you for joining us, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And we have Ms. Shashwati Bose, Head CSR Exide Industries Limited. But I think Ms. Bose had some medical emergency in our home, so she is not available at this point of time. If situation permits, she will join us in between. And Dr. Amit Kumar Thakur, Head CSR and Senior Fellow TERI, the Energy and Resources Institute. Dr. Thakur, I hope you are there.
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
Yes, sir. Yes,
good morning, good morning, sir.
Yes,
and everyone. Yeah.
Very good morning and nice to see you. Okay, so thanks for joining us for this particular session, and we will discuss more on the collaborative approach today, funding mechanism and capacity building. So these are the, you can say, major themes of today's discussion. NGOs actually enjoy a lot of public trust on its on-field working approach, and hence their views are treated with respect for their independence and accuracy. They play lead roles in developing efficiency, standards of operations that are practical and in accordance with the cause of action. NGOs also need to understand the applicability of the clause on companies in details, permitted themes for interventions, etc. As per the new and amended guidelines issued by MSHA, we all know implementation entities like trust, religious trust, society, 12A registered entities, 80G granted entities, Section 8 companies, they are supposed to file the form CSR 1. So continuous flow fund is the field for continuing such on-ground social activities. Hence, the synchronization between the corporates and the volunteer organization is significant for proper utilization of funds in the mission of holistic social development. And this synchronization includes a collaborative approach, absolutely. Operations and defining operational excellence are also complex and evolving topics. Different needs, funding, reporting structure, and stages of development has created a variety of different models. Traditional NGO back offices has actually become more strategic now with across functions ranging from finance and human resources to IT functions. When we talk about operational efficiency, there are long-term social programs such as health improvement or literacy boosting programs and emergency responses like cyclone pandemics. These two operational areas differ especially in terms of functional collaboration, resource requirements and mobilization, logistical complexity, and speed to scale. So there's a diversity in the whole process. So with this context, I'd like to request our esteemed panelists to share their views. We have 60 minutes time in totality, so we will continue this session till 12:30. We have 4 panelists as of now, and 3 subtopics are there. In fact, we have 5 panelists. Mr. Saxena will be joining, and So now bringing in focus of our first subtheme, developing an assessment of operational efficiency. So my first question goes to Mr. Anurag Pratap sir, because you will be leaving at 12 o'clock. So what are the most important parameters for operational efficiency for an implementation body? Mr. Pratap, please.
For me, the most important thing is the how grounded that particular entity is there in that particular milieu in which he or she is operating. That's the most important thing. Second is the community connect that they have with them. If we are talking about the work that's happening at the community level, and let's divide this into two parts at the very beginning itself. That whatever I'm going to speak about the community level intervention, but not at the, I'll say, thought leadership level intervention or at innovation or incubation level intervention. So at the community level intervention, for the operational effectiveness, there are 2-3 things that I always look into. One is that how rooted you are with the local community. That's one. Second is that how much you have invested in your personnel, human resources. I always say that, are you betting on horses or are you betting on donkeys? Because horses will win you the races. Donkeys are not going to win you the races. And that requires a huge amount of ability at the project owner level to identify the right kind of resources to be there and work there. And I always say that when you hire a good resource, pay them well. Then only you can retain them. Because social work is no more about khadi ka kurta and a bag which is hanging on your shoulder. But social work is as professional as any other career can be. Because none of the social workers are going to get what is called a rental, which are cheaper than others because you are doing social work. Or none of these social workers are going to get what is called their rations subsidized because you are doing social work. So you need to pay them decently, pay them. And my thumb rule is that pay them a few percentage above than the market rate so that they don't leave you. And then you continue with them. And third is the ability of the organization to invest in the regular capacity building of their people. Fourth is the investment on how they are investing or how they are tracking the progress and impact that they're making. Fifth, which I feel very important, is that do you own up your failures? I always, whenever I look into, whenever people submit their report, and whenever they say that everything that they did gave them success, I tell them that you are lying right now. Because in my last 25 years of experience, I've seen that in social sector, I'll say 50 to 60% of our investment yields result. Rest of the investment do not give us the kind of result that we are seeking. So it's not giving you the, I'll say, so-called positive result, but it's certainly giving you certain learnings there. So are you capturing those learnings? So if you are completely blinded to those reality, that I'm not seeking those partners. And I can go on because I have a long list of, I'll say, when I look at operational effectiveness. And the sixth one is I look at people who are, in the sense, who can articulate their impact in a way that anyone can understand that. And articulation of that point, and you can, Sekada, you can understand it very well when I say this, because it takes a huge amount of effort to share it with other people who don't understand the work that you're doing. Explain it in a way what you're doing, how you've done that, what all were the processes, and what all the learning that you got from the field. So the whole ability of doing that. But for me, the most important one is how grounded you are with. I'm not seeking English-speaking partners. I'm not seeking, I'll say, partners who, I'll say, look like me, speak like me, or bring in the same kind of outlook. But I'm looking for partners who bring value to the work. So I have a problem with partners who say that, Anurag, aap jo batao wahi kaam karenge. So I always say that jo tumko pasand wahi baat karenge. I'm not looking for those partners. I'm looking for partners who can bring in dissenting opinion there. I'm looking for partners who can bring in different perspective there. And I feel very happy, Sekata, when I share this, that 60% of Capgemini strategy got influenced by different partners who came in with their work, because they altered some of the work and the approaches that we were doing, because they brought in the field experience with them. So we went in with our own experiences, but they said that, hey, this is not going to be relevant in the today's field. And that, in the sense, altered. And I feel very proud whenever I share this in any of the conferences, saying that I'm looking for these kind of partners. I'm looking for partners who can think. Yeah. So that's in a shortest possible way, I can say that these are the things that for project effectiveness, I'm seeking these kind of people, and I seek these kind of people.
So very importantly, we got, I noted few of the very important things from your discussion, that how rooted they are, the community connect, the quality of resource, the ability to do a SWOT analysis, that what are their the other factors other than success factors. So, but possibly the most important point under collaboration you talked about, that the NGOs can come on the table with their field experience. So that's a real collaboration. The organizations can come with the strategy, and the resource, and NGOs can come with the field experience, core competence.
Not just field experiences. I'll just add there is that one is field experiences, but your ability to explain your field experiences in a way that you can influence and impact the strategies of the corporate.
True.
That becomes very important, and that's where I always say that NGOs have huge wisdom which they have there, and and they should be fearless to share about it. And I also ask all the CSR head to become secure enough to allow them to share those experiences and those wisdom. Then only we can make our CSR program much more vibrant and much more pragmatic.
Excellent. So we have Mr. Roy here, who heads the Bandhan Bank CSR division. So Mr. Roy, can we get your views also in this particular area, sir?
Yeah, definitely. Can I share some of these slides on my screen?
Please, quickly, you can share, no problem. We have time.
Okay. Right. So before I talk about what my idea on CSR collaborations are, I would like to highlight that there are certain alignment gaps, and therefore we need to rethink the alignments that are there in the development sector. At international level and at national and state level, the standardized parameters that the development sectors are tracked are everybody is aware, but still I'm saying HDI, SDGs, and the multidimensional poverty indexes. So if you look at some of the HDI states which are most poor, are like Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and Jharkhand, and the most developed states recently have been Kerala. Earlier it was Pondicherry, but again, the southern states were of higher HDI levels. Similarly, if you look at the multidimensional poverty, again, you will find that Bihar, Jharkhand, Uttar Pradesh are on a higher side of on the gaps that they require, and the gaps that they have is on education and on well-being. That is the wealth. They do not have enough wealth for their to on the multi-dimensional poverty. But states like Punjab and Haryana, who are very high on the multidimensional poverty, they are also like lacking mainly on the health grounds. So even if you are having a lot of wealth, you still lack on education and health. Similarly, the SDGs, we are looking at various, again, the southern states are doing better than the eastern and northern states. But the concerning area that we have here is the SDG goal 15, which is on life on land, that has been decreasing steadily. So whether you talk of deforestation or anything else, these are the areas that India as a whole is lacking. So and again, if you look at the total CSR spends that are happening and the kind of revenues that the states generate, most of them are aligned towards more wealthier states. Those like Maharashtra has higher CSR spends. It has a lower requirement. The gaps on SDGs, HDI are lower, but the spends are higher in terms of CSR money that is going, because the CSR guidelines states that local area fund utilization has to be given priority. Therefore, those states which are highly industrialized naturally get more share of the CSR. However, if you look at the developmental challenges, this is more or less aligned, because CSR spend is happening more on education, more on health, and stuff like that. So, well-being, the standard of living. So this is a little bit aligned, but there are again certain concern is on the environment, where the environmental spends are becoming lesser and lesser. And the SDG goal says that we are decreasing on the SDGs performance on environment. So now what the NGOs are doing in this sector, I'm not talking of particular. I understand that all the NGOs are very trustworthy and credible, but there has been a report, and this is a report by CBI, which says that we have over 31 lakh NGOs. So that every 400 person we have one NGO, compared to every 700 person we have one policeman. So we have more NGOs than the police force. And the 31 lakh NGO is only this registered society. I'm not talking of the public trust and the Section 8 companies. If you add that, it is more than 50 lakh such organization, which is comparable to the population of Norway or Sweden or even Singapore. So that kind of volume we have. But if you look at the kind of statutory compliances that the NGO has to follow, less than 10% are filing their return with the registrar. Less than 2% have ETG and 12A registration, and 4% have SDG, 2% have FCRA. Less than 1%, this is in fractions, has a CSR Form 1 registration, which is, 2021, the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has mandated whoever is about to receive the CSR funds needs to register them. Now, why this? Because there are certain trust issues that has happened. There is no standardized body. The recent and the more well-known is the Credibility Alliance, which has only 814 NGOs registered with them, which they can certify and accredit that they are the credible organizations. But again, Credibility Alliance, nobody refers. CIBIL has recently started rating NGOs and started having this kind of rating system for NGOs, that which organizations can be trusted. Now, this going forward will be very helpful when we have these, SEBI task force, technical task force on social sector exchange, social stock exchange that's coming up. So this rating platform will be more useful. However, what about the government funds that the NGOs receive? The CSR, the Supreme Court in 2017 mandated government, directed government that you conduct all these 30,000 odd NGOs for the government schemes that you are having, and why the spends are not going to the beneficiaries. So that's the bigger question mark. And for that reason, also the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has recently amended its rules and says that CSR spend is not my focus. CSR fund utilization is the focus now. So whether the NGOs are transferring this money to the beneficiaries, actually going to the ground, is now what the Ministry of Corporate Affairs is asking the corporate to monitor. So now what happens going forward? So all these requirements are now the bare minimum requirement. Any organization that do not have this kind of monitoring and reporting systems will be falling behind of any funding that the corporates intend to give out, because now they are also under a lot of compulsion that they work with a credible organization, they work with the organization who can provide them this database. So so moving from factor X, bare minimum requirement, how an organization can really build certain value added services with the corporates is to have an alignment with the strategic CSR partnership. All the corporates are having their customized requirement. They have this dashboard requirement, which a lot of NGOs needs to rethink that how for each and every corporate they can have a customized dashboard in terms of reporting. Then how can they strengthen their value chain? Then how can they do the employee engagement program? And so on and so forth. I have a limited time. We can discuss once
Right.
this.
Right.
And these are some of the things on the 9 principles that the SEBI has come up. Again, the national guidelines are there on the 9 principles, which the NGOs also needs to get themselves aligned. And these are the opportunities and some of the challenges. And the way forward we'll discuss while we will be hearing other participants also. Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Rai. Thank you very much. And we got to the essence of your presentation. That credibility is one of the major important issues which can make impact in the collaboration. Credibility of the implementation body or wherever it may be, NGO or any other form. And the rating credibility can be demonstrated through some kind of disclosure, some kind of rating, the BRSR alignment. So all these are very important. My one request to you, sir, that your slide contains a lot of good information. So if your confidentiality agreement, doesn't prohibit you, if you can share it with ICC. If any of our members or if any of the participants want to view that, they can see that. If you can do that or some part of your presentation, that will be quite good. So thank you, Mr. Roy, for your detailed view. So that gives a very important rise to one of our very important theme or part, that how this assessment or how this rating can be done. We have Dr. Thakur on this particular subject from TERI, but I'll come to you a bit later, Dr. Thakur, because that's a very important subject. I'll come to you later on, sir. But before that, I would like to request Mr. Manoj to give some idea about financing, because that's one area, it's a pain area for all the organizations, funding, financing. So, sir, your inputs on this.
Good morning once again. Thank you very much for inviting CP for this important panel discussion conducted by ICC. Initially, I thought I'm the wrong person to attend this meeting because out and out I was a banker who was into the other side, the credit side. Only I was looking after the credit side of the bank. So in this posting at Calcutta, last 1 year I'm here. Here I'm getting a good opportunity of seeing this, our promotion, development activities and CSR. CP has got a major activity in this role. So you must be knowing CP's main mandate is promotion, financing and development of the MSMEs. So I was in only the middle portion throughout the last 25 years of my career. I was only into financing all over the country. Now I'm getting an opportunity to see the promotion and development activities, which is very vital in this part, especially in the eastern and northeastern. Especially northeastern states, all northeastern states, we are completely only into this P&D, promotion, development, and CSR activities only. That is the only activity you must be knowing. I'll touch upon some of the major initiatives done by SIDBI, which is successfully done also. So, as my previous speakers were telling, the bank's concentration is basically on whatever funds are being given. And before that, I would like to let you know, SIDBI is not a company. So we don't have that mandatory requirement of providing a CSR fund. But we have substantial amount has been earmarked every year. This year also a record amount has been earmarked all India basis for CSR funding. And this is being channeled through all our bank branches. Every branch has got a targets also and the allocations also. Even Calcutta branch also has got it as an allocation already available. So our main idea is it has to reach the beneficiary. That is very important. There's no pilferage. So what we try to see is we ensure that is reaching the ultimate beneficiary and the sustainability. That is very important. See, funding is very easy. You can give the money and forget about it. But that's not the idea. What we see is the sustainability. The bank's thrust is on swavalampis. Generate, the word used is swavalampis. That is self-sustaining. Once you, like a famous Chinese proverb goes, a hungry man, instead of offering a fish, you teach him fishing. That's what our motto is also. So instead of satisfying for a single moment, make him in such a manner that over a period of time he's able to stand on his own foot and sustain his activities and become a swavalambi, and from there gradually move into a micro enterprise or from a small enterprise or a medium enterprise. Ultimately, you can become a large enterprise also. There are many successful projects also. So I'll touch upon whatever SIDBI has done in the recent past. In Calcutta also we have done an activity. In Guwahati Medical College, now we have funded in the COVID, second wave of COVID, we have donated 1 crore of rupee already disbursed to Guwahati Medical College for setting up a 100-bed ICU COVID hospital, COVID beds. It's already released to the government of Assam for this medical college, and it's already been set up, complete successfully done. Last month it was released through the Honorable Chief Minister. And in Calcutta, in this month only, earlier this month only, we have made a major intervention by way of in Howrah Industrial Cluster. Started off with installing an air water generator. It's a very unique kind of a thing. In Western countries, it's very prevalent. Here, this arsenic pollution in the groundwater I'm seeing in Calcutta and all, and other parts of West Bengal also, severe arsenic pollution is there in the groundwater, which leads to difficulty in getting potable water for especially for the deprived class, industrial workers, and such kind of thing. So we have identified that one industrial cluster to begin with, industrial welfare group, and we have donated on air water generator. It's called AWG. It's a very unique thing. There's no water source is not required. It will be directly sucking the atmospheric air. Especially it's effective in humid areas like in West Bengal, highly humid. It's very effective. It will be directly taking water, atmospheric air, converting it into potable water, and directly disposed of this machine. So SIDBI has given a fund of 2.78 lakhs was disbursed. Machine is already installed by our Deputy MD, was there in the last 2 weeks before. It was inaugurated around 2 weeks before and successfully being operated. So we wanted it to be a multiplier effect, should be a demonstrative effect. So we have funded and made this association responsible for managing, because this requires a monthly maintenance of electricity is required some 2,500 rupees per month. Electricity cost will be there. Air filter changing also will be required on every quarterly basis. So these two things we have entrusted them, and we ensured that the local people are understanding. There's a big crowd. People are interested to know what is happening. The crowd was there. So one came to know it's useful for them. So water they're paying for them for a can of water. We are giving it absolutely free of cost. This is a small thing, 120 liters per day only, but they have got higher, bigger machines also. Once it is successfully implemented and successfully maintained, we intend that it will be effective with their other banks or other major corporates to be intervening. And even I'm expecting the government of West Bengal also will be interested to know once a success factor is there, they will be also teaching, because this is a country where a lot of backwardness is there, seeing in many of the areas, especially when this kind of water pollution and this water is going to be, otherwise also is going to be a major critical factor down the line. So especially where the water is already affected, we should be having this thing, and it will be take this ownership effect will be there of the beneficiaries. They will be understanding the importance of that water is going to be sustainable, how important it is, and they will be taking it forward. So this is what we are hoping. This is just 1 month only, sorry, 2 weeks only. We are hoping that so far the feedback is very good. I am hoping gradually it will be taken over, and there will be a spreading effect will be there across the, other parts of the Calcutta and other state also. This will be made use of. And another intervention Siddhi has done in the Sundarbans area. It must be the Honorable Minister was in an inaugural speech. Exactly what we are doing. We already interfered in a cluster in Sundarbans where this sanitary pad manufacturing, very low cost sanitary pad manufacturing. We have involved women. Women folk only are coming into around 20 lakhs rupees are sanctioned for it. It will be idea of that is they will be first to create awareness. So as the minister was telling, awareness is not available. There's hygiene, this thing. So we have created the awareness. Then we have given this fund for the women people only, very small level. They will be procuring the local raw materials and making the sanitary pads, and will be sold there only at subsidized price. So these people will be ultimately become swavambis also as a small micro sector enterprise they can set up. Then once it is set up, the banks, other banks also can pitch in for giving small loans. And this Mudra and all loans are already the Prime Minister Mudra is a very small 50,000, 1 lakh rupee loan can be available once the banks will be confident that they are able to sustain on. So this is already 50 women has been identified for passing on this benefit. The sanitary pad manufacturing. The stages what we are seeing is awareness, manufacturing, distribution, and sustainability. These are the 4 stages what we are looking at. Another thing area what we have done in Sundarbans area is around 2.75 lakh has been sanctioned already. There's a wealth to waste. That also the Honorable Minister was telling about the local resource available, the wastage, waste to wealth. See, what they're doing is fish is a big consumption. So the fish scale is generally some jewelry, handicrafts items are being by the women folk only. So we are funding that for collecting this waste and converting it to useful handicrafts. Here also direct intervention. And another thing is where city is not able to do directly, we are involving NGOs. One Mukti for Fresh one is there. This is in 1,000 women. 1,000 women have been trained for manufacturing, making soft toys and tailoring. These two activities are for women. Once it is they are trained properly and having a small setup, from there they can grow. So this will become a major. We are saying that's a big amount. 50 lakh has been sanctioned through this Mukti Foundation, already discussed also. And market linkage and sustainability also we are ensuring under this scheme. So these are the major. And another thing is we have done through the Sri Ramakrishna Mission, the northeastern state of Meghalaya. We have funded an ambulance for the COVID patient. That's problematic because hilly area. Ambulance we have given, and another incubator was also commissioned. It's called incubator cum accelerator. It is for basically fabric weaving to merchandising. This is the idea from end to end. This was, and our Honorable Home Minister, Union Home Minister also has visited and appreciated this project of basically. And Sri Ramakrishna Mission, through Sri Ramakrishna Mission's operations in various parts of the country, we are using. Because the idea is the money which is going in has to be established sources where they have already had their track record available, so that they can use this money positively with minimum pilferage, with maximum force multiplier effect. That is the idea of the bank. The end use verification and end use has to be properly used. This is a thrust area, and we hope in this current year also major thrust has been given by the board. I think the record budget has been allocated in the CSR. We wanted to use this very effectively across the country, especially in the north and northeast and the eastern region. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity.
Excellent. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your detailed, in-depth views of the actual areas where you have invested. And I took a note of 2 important things you mentioned. One is the funding bodies are very much interested on how things are reaching up to the beneficiary level, how it is reaching up to the grassroots level, and how sustainable is the process is. So these are the 2 things you look into when you invest somewhere. So these are very important points for us. So now I will request Dr. Thakur, Dr. Amit Thakur, to talk about, in fact, sir, your floor is open on your two core areas. As we know, one is the rating, assessment, rating, the credibility of the implementation bodies, how to judge, how to do that, and another is the operational efficiency. Sir, Dr. Thakur, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Saikat Basu, and welcome to all the esteemed panelists. And thank you very much to ICC for organizing such a wonderful event on CSR. So, in fact, I will cover majorly the landscape policy interventions on CSR, how CSR has, in terms of policy, it has evolved over time, what the policy is saying right now, what are the amendments, and also in terms of the implementation challenges, the capacity building aspect, and also the funding aspect. Definitely the NGO rating, we have come up with a concept paper on NGO rating that I will highlight. Along with that, how is the roadmap on CSR, where we want to see and what we aspire to achieve for our great nation. So with the permission of Chair and ICC, in fact, we have a very, very rich history in Indian context from the Vedic times. India has been into this purpose of helping people, helping society, and reaching out to the masses. Whenever it has come larger issues with any pandemic, it's not new what we are seeing right now. It has happened earlier, and earlier India was not that well to do, and still we are trying to achieve to become one of the most foremost nation. But if you see in the Vedic time, there was a culture that the kings, in fact, used to help the community, the poorer community, and in a way there was a structure in place in which this well-being of people was ensured by those who had, in fact, a lot of resources. And this entirely this continued over a span of time from Vedic period till the system where the kings were there, their kingdom was there. Famines used to come. There were a lot of floods where there were catastrophic events which were not within the control of humanity. So the kings used to, in a structural approach, used to help the his kingdom people or the sufferers. And in this way, the whole approach to help the people continued. So you also saw all these things in terms of reaching out to people is not new to India. It's nothing that CSR has come in 2013 mandated, and post that we are seeing development or something doing for the society. It has happened from quite a long time, and we have strong documented literature on that. And this is how we all are impacting this country. And this pandemic, in fact, also saw how we collaborate. If we partner properly, then larger goals can be achieved with lesser resources. Lesser money can have huge impact. So to bring it in a more focused manner, in terms of the history of CSR, it was outside India before 1900 in terms of lot of authors who have given wonderful insights to CSR, sustainability, and leading to SDGs. The prominent name which we hear most of the time is Carroll, Johnson, Rickison, and many other authors from the global perspective. And those perspectives I briefly discuss, and how it is linked to CSR, and how, in fact, all these stakeholders, including the NGOs, can firm up, can strengthen themselves to be, for a scale up their activities. So in Indian context also, if you see before independence and post independence, we saw a lot of kings from 1860 till 1947. We see two phases, in fact. One phase where the kings were there, the kingdom was there, a lot of issues were there. They used to serve the people, they used to ensure the well-being of the people. Second, we also find that the advent of Mahatma Gandhi, in fact, in India, when he came from South Africa, there also, in fact, he propagated this idea, in fact, to Sarva Loka Hitaya concept that one has to help the society. And in that way, in fact, he urged the corporate sector to contribute to the well-being of the people and for the society. And many companies, in fact, Tata's, Birlas, they came up, and many others, in fact, Modi's, they came up and served the society, and the dedicated fund, in fact, to the needy. Post-independence also, we have been seeing the role of the public sector in terms of the work they have done for the society, the amount of investment they have done for for the country, the jobs they have created, and their mandate, in fact, had been to serve the people at large. So the public sector have been a great asset for this country, and they have always addressed social issues very strongly. Apart from that, the private sector had pitched in strongly, and the opening of the Indian economy in 1991 has seen huge opportunities. Private sector booming up, a lot of investments happening, and private sector, in fact, investing in the social good. And what we are seeing today is the culmination of all this combination. So, and from 1991 onwards, when the economy opened, until now, we see this as a regime of on CSR post 2013. So, while I wanted to say that India has a very rich history on social good, social development, and from basic CSR, we are talking on sustainability, sustainable development. So the pace hasn't started in 2013. That's what I meant to say, and it's a long journey that we have reached here. We have huge experience. The country has a capacity to, evolve and can strengthen itself from all spheres. Well, challenges remain. So, in terms of the CSR perspective of 2013 and beyond, what we are seeing is that CSR all started from a basic structured law, and post that we have seen several amendments in CSR. It was basic initially, had to be seen liberally because the law was new in 2013, started being implemented from 2014 onwards. But we have seen several amendments in CSR, and so that companies and all stakeholders, because only the companies don't have responsibility, the other stakeholders, community, NGOs, they also are part of this entire process. So in this entire process, the amendments have helped to look within. In fact, the companies also have introspected themselves, the community also has introspected themselves, and NGOs also need to introspect because of a large number of NGOs which are there, which is more than the population of any other country, which one of our esteemed speakers mentioned. So what is crucial from all perspective that and why this law has amended from time to time, because there have been new perspectives, new requirements which were needed to the law, and those were added by the government engaging all the stakeholders. So in present, if you see the new amendment of 2021, which came in January in 2021, that has that has bound, in fact, that has hold all the stakeholders. It's more towards the corporate that they need to follow certain set of rules, regulations, but again, it's also binding on this other set of stakeholders like the NGOs. There are a gamut of money available. We say 18,000 crore is available, so that money is small when we compare to the education fund of the government or the rural development fund. But we have to see to such projects that the organizations, the corporate who is funding, they need to identify the set of NGOs who can actually deliver on what terms, not on their terms, but they can actually rope in new experiences, new expertise, because they can capture the need of the people explicitly well. And those needs, in fact, should be captured in such a manner, must be documented in such a manner that should convince the sponsor, and sponsor must realize the fact that they have definitely the funds comes from the corporate sector, but again the NGOs expertise, experience in reaching out to people and providing solutions which are the need of the time must be jointly discussed, and then only the project needs to be conceptualized. So in the CSR domain, there are 5-6 very crucial aspects which need to be looked at from the stakeholders' perspective view. First, in fact, we see that the policy aspect. Policy has been made by the government. The board of the companies, ensures that it has a policy in place. But again, that policy needs to be, a process is followed in implementing that policy. You have a Schedule 7, you have your identified set of activities that you want to do. NGOs, from their perspective, need to see that what are their strengths, what are their capacities, how much strength do they have in understanding the community, and how much they have captured the need of the community in terms of the perspective that the assessment part needs to be done strongly by them, taking inputs from the corporate sector, and how much they are able to convince them. The major gap which comes, what we see, in fact, in CSR receiving funds and implementation, that you are not able to gauge the need assessment part strongly, and thereby the corporates are not convinced to that that extent that the fund is given, but again, how it will be implemented, whether the project will get stalled in between, or whatever they are saying is not, matching with our expectation or to the community expectation. So that gap needs to be reduced as much as possible. There will be gaps. I would say that the most toughest work is to reach out to community and to implement work. We have been taking up CSR projects, and I would tell you that having so much of expertise, still we feel that we need to learn from every project. Every project that we do, in fact, we feel that only 50-60% achievement we have done. 40% is still, remain unaddressed. So in terms of the NGOs, what we have kept on the rating part, that in India, there are a plethora of NGOs working on several areas. They're doing good job, they understand the community, but the most important role that they need to have, that they need to do their assessment efficiently, that what type of projects they can do, what type of link they have with the community, and how do they plan to implement the projects, how much they understand the policy, are they part of the entire process on the CSR policy, how they will be executing the projects, and will there be some positive impact which is scalable in nature. We do feel that a similar type of project in one location or in a state is repeated again and again. So we need to see this part, and NGOs need to come up in terms of a futuristic perspective at how they can, do such projects. You can do small projects and can create wonders, and that can have a high impact. And that should be a scalable and replicable model across the country. We do take a lot of CSR projects, but we are very selective now in terms of the projects that we do take on environment sustainability, or on water conservation, or on integrated project, or maybe on clean energy. So we try to see few things on projects. First of all, definitely, the sponsor or the corporate is the king. But in the process, the corporate also expect from us that what you bring good thing on table in terms of the utilization of the fund, how it is going to benefit the community, and how it gets linked to the SDGs and the sustainability of the project. The first aspect is that, is the designing all fine? It may happen that there could be fault at the designing of the project initially, because you can't capture all the need from the community. But in the process, when it started implementation of the projects or program, there need to be course correction in consultation with the community, reporting to the sponsor that how this course correction is being done, and that formal process should not be too much formal, should not take too much of time. But again, right, it should be within the ambit of the project. And once it is done, there are certain milestones which needs to be achieved on a timely basis, and the reporting aspect of the NGO or of the company should be as such that they should have a good team in place who understand the project in entirety. The role should be designed properly, and the funds received, should be structured in such a way that should enhance the time. We believe that if you keep all these aspects in mind and you have the capacity in place, and somebody mentioned, one of the esteemed speaker, that yes, one has to, at the salary front or in the package front, you need to have good people at front. You can't have 100 people and giving lesser efficient outputs. You can have 5-10 good people who can work on topic, who understand topic, because it's a professional work right now. But again, it's social work. One has to understand this aspect in entirety. So in terms of the Carroll's model, I would like to highlight quickly. In fact, it has a pyramid. It talks about the economical aspect. It talks about ethical aspect. It talks about philanthropic aspect. It says that the economically, the organization needs to be sound. Also, the environment and social aspect need to be addressed, and philanthropic aspect need to be done. Even the bigger challenge in terms of implementing the Carroll's model has been that in terms of the social and environmental aspect, if one understands that need properly, then one can, in true spirit, I would say the Carroll's model, which is a 100-year-old model, still relevant now and would be always relevant in future. So also with the Carroll's model, bring some sustainability issues, that whether the social issues, environmental issues could be measured properly in all aspects, can be reported properly. So what we say very clearly that qualitative aspect also is a form of reporting along with the quantitative aspect. So you need to do a proper mix of both the aspects and need to do the reporting in that manner. The focus is that any project or any program the NGOs do or the corporate looks at, the innovation part is important. Technology is taking center stage. So technology driven innovation need to be there. Research and development also should be part of this. That any solution which is being given, there should be research on that part. And transparency, integrity, and reporting. These are the key aspects. What I see in CSR aspect is coming up. And now our Director General also mentioned that CSR has to be linked to the Sustainable Development Goals. And if we can match it properly, then I think the fabric or the ecosystem of CSR can be further strengthened. And in the 6 years, we have seen that a lot of work has been done. And if it is captured properly, then I think we have a long way to go. So with these words, I thank for giving me an opportunity to speak to this esteemed panel.
Thank you, Dr. Thakur, for the elaborative explanation on the requirements. I picked a few points like from the NGOs, they need to understand the policy, the need assessment. You mentioned it very categorically, that need assessment, they need to understand the outcome of the need assessment, and they need to align their core competencies to bring out a solution on those areas. And so they need to align with the need assessment, their core competencies and solutions. And finally, the model has to be scalable model. So thank you so much for your elaborative approach. I can see Mr. Ashwini Saxena has joined. Very good afternoon, Mr. Saxena, and welcome to the session.
Good afternoon, Mr. Vasu.
Good afternoon, sir.
Sorry, how are you?
We are good. And sir, we need your views on few of the areas, like say funding is one of the major areas. All the implementation bodies are really having problem. So if you can share, sir, your views on those challenges.
You're talking about funding for NGOs, or you're talking about funding of programs? Because these are two very different things.
So both are important to our viewers. So if you can briefly touch upon both the points.
Okay. So I think, when our colleague from TERI was speaking, I was listening very intently to him. And I think he touched upon a very important point for the NGOs, where he talked about, how they define their purpose, how they, align their skill sets and their offerings to the needs of the communities that they wish to address to. So I think that itself, lets you know that for funding of NGOs, yes, it's a big challenge that a lot of fund is only tagged to programs and not per se for institutional building of the NGOs per se. And that's a challenge which I think we all need to address, because if we need a number of, I would say, partners, implementation partners, I will not use them, I'll not call them NGOs for that matter. So if you need implementation partners, the capacities of implementation partners certainly need to be built. Now, that could be a cash flow, or that could be building their capacities in a number of ways. And I think there are a whole range of government mechanisms also, like the Young Fellowship Program by CAPART and, other support that they provide to the NGOs. That's one part. The second part is, I think, which is a much bigger soul searching for the implementation is to really narrow down on what they really bring on to the table. I think my friend from TERI touched upon that, Dr. Thakur, if I'm not mistaken. He touched upon that issue that, what is it that you're adding as a value proposition onto the table? While funding may come from a corporate or, for that matter, a government scheme, but what is it that you're adding value through your intervention? So I think that to a large extent defines how funding to an NGO is going to become possible. Two, I think within the CSR rules and beyond the CSR rules, the work that the NGOs have been doing so far, there has always been an element of building capacities in-house. How do you do that? And how much are you focused upon that? I think that's a question to be answered internally by the organizations. So to that extent, funding for NGOs has always been flowing in. There are regulations for sure, but then those regulations are to make sure that the funding is utilized for the right intentions and for the right programs and in the right manner. So that limitation in my view should remain, and I think it would always kind of differentiate between the serious and the non-serious players. So you'll come across a number of NGOs who would say that we don't require funds, please don't talk about giving money to us. This is what our focus is. This is what we want to work upon. Learn from us. We are ready to learn from you. Scale up our model, replicate it elsewhere. I mean, there are a number of such examples. I'll not give specific examples, but if we'll search around, we'll find about them. And on the other hand, there are a large number of institutions who have yet themselves not defined what they really want to offer or they can possibly offer. And they would always have this feeling that funding is not available. Well, funding may be available provided if you have a brilliant idea. And I think part of it is being answered by the startup ecosystem which is coming up. So why I use the word implementation partner, because at the end of the day, something has to be delivered. Either I'm going to deliver, or Saikat is going to deliver, or Mr. Thakur would be able to deliver it, or Nantaraji would require somebody to come up and do that work. So what we bring onto the table will define how much resources are going to come at my way. The whole startup ecosystem is now coming up. Why? Because it is offering more flexible, more innovative solutions to the same set of problems which we were trying to address in our own traditional manner for last so many years. So therefore, I think that I think should be an eye-opener for all of us who are in this developmental space, to see where this rigor has been lost. Passion is fine, but the rigor, financial rigor, the discipline of doing things in a particular time-bound fashion, being cutthroat and strategic in certain ways, I think that is something which is going to define whether an institution is going to get resources or not get the resources. Those good old days, unfortunately, are over. That some big funding organization will continue to pump funds, believing that capacities would be built, and over a period of time, the capacities actually don't get built, or they actually get built, but in a different manner altogether. Right. So that's the funding of NGOs. Now, coming to funding of programs, I think there could not be a better time than this, where there is so much of focus on the ESG matrix which each corporate is looking at. There could be no better time where government itself, I think, after, if I'm not mistaken, we are the second country in the world to have a regulated CSR, mandatory CSR. So you have a whole, I think about 15,000 crores of funds available from corporate sector, specifically for CSR, which is a mandatory expenditure. So program funding should not be an issue. Programs, if there are good programs, if you have the, I would say the examples, in front of you that which are, telling how it has been done, it not necessarily be fully successful. It's no more a precondition that you can only go and get a funding for a successful program. I mean, if you've got a brilliant idea, even for a program which is in an incipient stage, can be funded, and people would like to actually contribute more than the financial manners in other ways also to make that program successful. So funding word, if I can break it up into funding of not just financial funding, but also funding of ideas and funding of resources and capabilities, I think there is no better time than this. Everybody has got, this larger than, I would say, normal agenda that everybody is talking about, not just producing a certain product or offering a certain service, but actually contributing to the nation building process by actually contributing to the sustainable development goals. I mean, have you ever had a time before where somebody and almost everybody was talking about SDGs in a subtle manner or in an explicit manner? So how can we say that for programs, funding is not available? It's all about how are we looking at it? What is our lens of looking at that funding? And are we looking at that funding as a bilateral kind of a relationship between a corporate and the NGO, or the program and the funder? Or are we looking at creating a multitude of organizations? I will give you an example. For a program in agriculture that we have defined ourselves in partnership with a number of resource agencies, the model that we have come up with is that We are there to, provide support. But if there are more players to come in who would like to have a share of the pie, they are more than welcome. They are more than welcome. The roadmap has been defined. And the roadmap has been defined by a whole set of organizations, well-meaning organizations, including us in our humble capacity, to define the roadmap for whom? For the benefit of the communities. In consultation with whom? In consultation with the communities themselves. In consultation with the value chain partners. Once that program has been agreed upon, once that whole blueprint has been agreed upon, funding for that program is least of my botherations. So I don't know whether I'm answering your question or not, but I would say it's about the answers that you're offering to the problem, to the questions that are being raised to us in today's world. If the answer is there with you, funding that answer is not an issue.
True.
You've got so many different models that have come up, even philanthropic things, for example, charitable things, for example. Now you have platforms like Keto, where people are raising resources and taking care of somebody, which doesn't fit into a particular government scheme, or a medical insurance cannot take care of it. So there are so many examples by which, there are innovative ways of raising funds for programs.
Right, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Saxena, for the insights. In fact, I have taken out two very important points, that when you talk about finding the funding to build the partner and funding to build the program. So both are equally important, possibly for a long-term relationship building. And innovation, yes, nowadays innovation is not a separate function, and it's not only for the elite corporates. Innovation has to come down, rather it should evolve from the ground level.
Actually, if you look at our country, Mr. Basu, innovation is actually required at the grassroots levels.
Grassroots level.
Because technological innovations are always going to be taken care of by the corporates in order to build their product efficiencies and their production efficiencies and all that. For there is a lot of funding available and interest also available. But the grassroots level innovations are the ones which actually are going to solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, and actually there are many, but possibly that needs to be aligned and demonstrated or communicated properly, because till that possibly innovation, the word is aligned with Steve Jobs and Apple and Intel. So only they can innovate, we cannot innovate.
Mr. Basu, Mr. Saxena has done wonderful work in the foundation. At one point, I'd like him to share the project ideas. I've had the pleasure of interacting with him a number of times.
Yes, yes, ma'am.
Maybe Rupa, you can give a presentation.
That's so kind of you, Mrs. Chaudhary. In fact, innovation, when you were talking, Mr. Basu, to me, the biggest innovator that I saw with my own eyes in my life was a small little weaver somewhere in Odisha, who, can you imagine, Kosa silk, it has to be reeled and woven.
Right.
So the reeling process of Kosa, the silk requires moisture. And this gentleman, you will not imagine what he did. He improvised by picking up leftover drip sets from the neighboring hospital. And he had picked up and he had made a kind of a mechanism by which a whole set of drip set, those pipes, discarded pipes, he had put it on a platform. On that platform, there was a kind of a tank in which he would fill the water, and by calibrating the drop by drop flow of water onto the silk yarn, he had improvised a great contraption by which, while he's doing weaving, the silk yarn keeps on getting moistened, and because of that, he's able to maintain the staple fiber length, and he's able to weave better. So that's a great innovation. It's much better than what maybe Steve Jobs must have done in Apple.
True. Thank you, Mr. Saxena. We have come to the end of this session. We have one question in our chat box. Possibly when Mr. Roy, Sarvashish Roy can answer that. How does organizations get involved in individual projects in community level? So, Mr. Roy, would you like to answer this?
See, the organizations, if you are talking of corporates, in my deliberation, I have shared that employee volunteerism is something that is part of a strategic CSR, and a lot of organizations do offer the companies to participate as a resource person, as a faculty, do volunteerism. So that is for one level, but at a more strategic level, there is all the corporates have this CSR departments, dedicated workforce, who are actually monitoring and evaluating the programs on a real-time basis. Uh, when I say real-time basis, they are doing a lot of field visits, interacting with the beneficiary, try to bring value to the programs by having their own assessment of what are the needs of the communities, what are the challenges that the communities are facing, and also design some of the program components that are best suited. If you look at Bandhan Bank specifically now, the Bandhan Bank started as an NGO, you know, and it got into microfinance and then eventually became the bank. And this is an organization which had this idea, which you know was based on the fact that philanthropy will not work. People need money, that is fine, but people also need a calibrated handholding so that whatever the idea that they generate, they can actually translate that. And if the people and the communities are able to translate those ideas into a working business model and generate profit out of it, naturally the NGO will also have the profit and the NBFC will have the profit, and now the bank is having the profit, and it's becoming a very valuable, part of the country's nation building agenda. Bandhan Bank collaborating with more than 2.4 million grassroots level customers, and with direct implementation. So that is like all the organizations are trying to aim at.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Roy, for answering your questions. I think that brings us to the end of this session. But before I hand it over to ma'am, to Ms. Palchodhuri, let me quickly make a laundry list of what we discussed today. For the implementation partners, we will not talk about only NGOs, implementation partners. We talked about how rooted you are in that particular location or on that particular subject. So that's very critical. Community connect is very important. The quality of resources, almost all the panelists talked about quality of resources. Mr. Pratap included that, do you own your failures? Are you doing SWOT analysis? So that's what also we discussed. The two-way collaboration, like the field experience bringing on the table for the corporates. So bringing the field experience to the table is also very important. Mr. Thakur talked about the policy, the need assessment, importance of need assessment and alignment of the implementation partner with the need assessment and their capacity or capability or core competence area and scalable models. Mr. Roy talked about the credibility. The credibility is very important, and that's where now the rating and all those assessment, communication, the disclosure, all these things are have become so important. The credibility of the organization, the credibility of the implementation partner, and Mr. Saxena talked about two very important things: building the partner and building the program. Those are very important. And obviously, last but not the least, innovation at the grassroots level. So innovation at the grassroots level is also very important. Mr. Manoj talked about the investments and funding. So he was very particular about that reaching up to the beneficiary level, the fund reaching the beneficiary level, and how sustainable the process is. So that's a glimpse of today's discussions. I think let us conclude the discussion here with my sincere thanks to all my fellow panelists. Thank you, sirs, for your kind allocation of time for this, for your sharing your time with your busy schedule. So I'll hand it over to Ms. Pal Chaudhary now.
Thank you, Mr. Basu. It has been a very interesting and enriching session. There were a lot of takeaways from this session. I'm sure we will continue to engage with each one of you. May I now request Shoma from the Indian Chamber to propose the formal vote of thanks.
Thank you, ma'am. I think both Mr. Basu and yourself, you have been kind enough to thank all our speakers. So, and I would also like to formally thank on behalf of ICC, each and every one of you, Mr. Saxena, Mr. Roy, Mr. Basu, Dr. Thakur and his team, Mr. Manoj. So all of you, we would like to thank you for sparing your time with us. Just wanted to also share with you that we have just opened up a 7-day exposition, and there are a number of activities lined up during the 7 days. On 27th August, we have a capacity building program for evaluation and rating of NGOs, which will be spearheaded by Dr. Amit Thakur from TERI and his team. 28th August, we have another capacity building program on implementation challenges and opportunities for funding, again to be spearheaded by TERI. 30th August, we have ICC Consultivo session on baseline evaluation and impact assessment. And on 31st August is the roundtable session and a release of the compendium. So I would request all our participants to take full advantage of all the sessions. And I would like to formally thank all the speakers and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kindly do visit the exposition, everybody. Mr. Saxena would request you to please have a visit of the exposition. If the link is not there with you, I'll share with you once again. And
please do that. I'll certainly do that.
Right, sir.
and we can also share the link to our colleagues in this field, so
yes,
that
sir.
they can also do it.
So all your team also, you can request them to have a look, because there are some very interesting projects on display.
Wonderful.